A longer work about a disturbed young boy named Toby who's 9 years old and suffering from night terrors. Toby had another dream. He ran again. When he jumped, he could linger in midair for a moment, but it felt amazing. He was weightless but powerful. Running around the neighborhood was easy. He could jump over houses and the place was completely empty. No one around. Everything had a bluish-green tint to it, like when he played with the knobs on the TV controls and turned the screen from warm to cold. He ran inside to see his Aunt Tabby and Uncle Jim. There was an echoing holler all around the room like it was coming directly from the walls. You couldn't quite tell where it was coming from. He got scared and wanted to run up the stairs. He didn't even remember making the climb. Somehow he got into their bedroom. He stood at the foot of the bed. His Uncle Jim was on top of Aunt Tabby. She was struggling. He was hitting her, punching her in the stomach. She screamed for help. Toby reached out to pull Uncle Jim off of her with his newly acquired strength, but his hand couldn't grab, and pulling the man off of her was a definite struggle. Aunt Tabby was naked, and he could see all of the bruises and scratches to her milk-white body, her round breasts glistening with sweat, her pink nipples erect. Uncle Jim looked monstrous. Completely covered in hair, he didn't look human. He was biting her shoulders and neck, and Toby saw his penis, large and hard, struggling to find an entrance. When pulling Uncle Jim off of Aunt Tabby didn't work, he hit Uncle Jim's sweaty, furry back over and over again. Toby screamed and hit, screamed and hit. It was like Uncle Jim didn't notice him at all. His hits had no effect on stopping him. In fact, he seemed to get more aggressive and turned on. Aunt Tabby's screams became sobs. The tone was lower like a wounded animal. When Toby woke up, he was shaken to say the least. His pajamas stuck to his skin, and he felt a warmth in his pants. But it wasn't because the crotch was wet. He looked down and saw that his penis had grown. It was sticking straight up. He felt lightheaded and weird, like he was supposed to do something. He fit his hand around his penis and softly squeezed. It felt good. Blood was running all through his body, and he could feel the pump in the palm of his hand. He moved his hand up and down, and it felt good. So good. He wanted to hit something. He wanted to plunge into something. Thirst overcame him, and with his penis still outside of his pants, he walked down the hall. Stacy had come home that night from college for the weekend. He was drawn to her bedroom. His throat burned. He needed water, but something kept him walking down the hall to her half-shut door. He wanted to use his penis. He wanted to beat something and then enter it, conquer it. He peered inside and saw that she was lying on her side, mouth partially open, breathing deeply, her wavy hair splayed out over her pillow, and her one arm under her pillowed head. She looked so innocent, like she'd never hurt him or tease him again. Toby stepped closer and watched like the shadow man had at the foot of Stacy's bed. He could see her chest rise and fall, and it was like she was a stranger. Blood was rushing and indecision followed. He had lost his purpose. He forgot what he wanted to do, desire abruptly gone. He rubbed his eyes with his other hand. He looked down and realized if she woke up and he had his penis out, she'd laugh at him. He stowed it away. It had begun to go half-mast anyway. He walked away and felt humiliation for some reason, like Stacy was laughing at him regardless of being asleep, like she saw everything and she'd make him relive this moment over and over again. He padded out of her room and down the hall. When he got to the kitchen, he filled up a clean, clear glass of water. As an afterthought, he added an ice cube or two, and the glass ran over a bit and started to drip on the tiled floor. He gulped down the water. He never thought the burn would go away. After his second glass, he realized it wouldn't. Exhausted, he looked at the clock on the microwave. The green digits said it was 3:17 a.m. He decided he'd better go back to bed. His eyelids heavy and his stomach bloated and sloshy. The warmth of the bed welcomed Toby, and it surprisingly didn't take him long to get back to sleep. The next day, October 31st, Toby woke up to the unpleasant weight of Stacy sitting on top of him. He thought his ribs would crack. The memory of his dreams left him immediately. "Get off me," he yelled. "Finally you woke up," she said, and laughed at his struggling. "Come on, get off, I can't breathe," he shouted. Stacy continued to laugh until she felt the wetness on her own legs, soaking her pajama pants. He couldn't hold it any longer. She stopped laughing and got off of him and rushed. "The fuck? Don't tell me you just pissed your pants," she said. Toby started to cry. He was humiliated yet again. She looked at him with disgust and turned and walked out the door. He heard her make her way down the hall to her room. Toby lied there, wet and sobbing, but unable to breathe again. His dad had agreed he was getting older, but he wasn't allowed to trick-or-treat alone yet, especially since he wasn't going with other children. "It's either me or your sister," he said. Toby disappointedly agreed, but he made his dad promise to be a full block behind him. "What about Louie?" Janice asked. Ever since his mother had met Louie's mom, they had had a talk about how both Toby and Louie should spend more time together, seeing as they liked to keep to themselves and didn't seem to have a lot of friends. The more Janice forced Louie on Toby, the more he rejected the idea. He even found that he grew to hate Louie. Toby, although awkward, still knew how to talk to other people. He just chose not to. Louie was just plain awkward and embarrassing. Toby almost felt bad, but knew being friends with a kid like Louie wasn't going to help in the teasing department. "No," he said with finality. He didn't want his mom to read into anything or try any harder. She didn't broach the subject again.